You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. It is the eve of NFL free agency, so make sure you hit that big red subscribe button down below to stay on top of all of the moves that the Niners make and some of the players that they inevitably lose. Before we dive into the latest 49ers news and rumors on Tom Brady coming out of retirement, only lasted a couple of weeks. Bobby Wagner, the Niners' interest in Frank Clark, Laken Tomlinson expected to test the free agency market. The NCAA tournament bracket is set. The number one seeds, Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas, Baylor. So I want all of you watching right now to get into the comment section. In my opinion, NCAA tournament, the second best sporting event of the sports calendar behind the Super Bowl, and let me know who you think is going to win the national championship game. I like two teams, Villanova as well as Gonzaga. Let me know which teams you're rocking with in the comment section right now. We begin with Tom Brady. His retirement only lasted a couple of weeks, and no, he is not going to go to the San Francisco 49ers for the team that he grew up idolizing and rooting for while growing up in Northern California, where, by the way, his parents do still live. Tom Brady took to Twitter to come out of retirement just moments ago here on Sunday night by saying this: "These past 2 months, I've realized my place is still on the field and not in the stands. That time will come, but it's not now. I love my teammates and I love my supportive family. They make it all possible. I'm coming back for my 23rd season in Tampa. Unfinished business, LFG." So Tom Brady, it was a dream for many of the faithful that he was going to go to San Francisco, the team that he wanted to go to prior to going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2 years ago. He is going back to Tampa on a team that can compete for a Super Bowl this year. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin coming back. We'll see what they do at the running back position. Offensive line, a little bit shaky, but they have stellar players on the defensive side of the football as well. And it's becoming more and more apparent that the 49ers are growing more and more comfortable with the idea of Trey Lance being the starting quarterback in 2022, which is what we've been talking about here on the 49ers Report for the last several weeks. I think a Jimmy Garoppolo trade is imminent, and I think he gets dealt at some point this week because the 49ers do want to clear his cap number, which is around $26 million off their cap, so that they can improve this roster and they too can compete for a Super Bowl. So give me your one-word reaction to Tom Brady coming out of retirement to go back to the Bucs. You let me know in the comment section right now. To a fascinating rumor now from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. He said this on Twitter on Sunday, which has the fan base in shambles, at least a fraction of it. The other side of the fan base is actually interested in the idea of lining up Frank Clark on the edge opposite of Nick Bosa. Fowler said that the 49ers are interested in acquiring Frank Clark, who has obviously played for the Kansas City Chiefs the past 3 years. The Chiefs acquired him in 2019 to replace Dee Ford, whom the Chiefs traded to the 49ers, as we know. Ford was good for a fraction of that 2019 season, helping lead the 49ers to being one of the best defenses and making it to the Super Bowl that year, but his tenure in San Francisco somewhat disappointing because of injuries. But the expectation among many around the league is that Frank Clark is going to be traded, released, or his contract is going to be reworked, has a $26.3 million cap hit in 2022, which is a tough sell for Kansas City. And Fowler said, quote, "Watch for the 49ers as a potential new home." Now, Frank Clark is a controversial figure. He has run into a bunch of legal problems throughout his NFL career. He got caught prior to the 2022 season rolling around with an Uzi that earned him the nickname Uzi Frank inside the walls at Chat Sports. But when you look at him as a player, he is a very good pass rusher. You take a look at the stats last 3 years. 2019, 37 tackles, 8 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. In 2020, 29 tackles, 6 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. This past year, numbers did dip. 22 tackles, 4.5 sacks, and 4 tackles for loss. He did have 17 quarterback hits, 46 combined quarterback hits over the last 3 years. And sometimes I do look at sack numbers like wins for a pitcher in baseball. doesn't really tell the story. The biggest statistic for a pitcher in baseball is ERA. I think sometimes we overlook quarterback pressures and quarterback hits for pass rushers, and we become way too obsessed with the actual sack numbers. This is what I know about Frank Clark. He would thrive opposite of Nick Bosa because a lot of the attention would be on Nick Bosa and on Eric Armstead in the interior of that defensive line. We'll see what happens with DJ Jones as well as Arden Key, both set to be free agents. But by bringing in Frank Clark, one, you'd probably have to pay him a decent amount of money, which would then lead inevitably, I think, to Arden Key and DJ Jones leaving. But he would be able to get after the quarterback, and a lot of the pressure, as I talked about, would be focused on Nick Bosa, which would open up opportunities and pave open a lane for Frank Clark to get after the passer. So it would be a controversial move for San Francisco given his legal history and some of the problems that he's had throughout his NFL career, because there have been multiple. From an on-field standpoint and a roster fit, I can see why San Francisco is interested, because he's a very talented pass rusher who is still somewhat young. He did record 4.5 sacks last year, and obviously those numbers down. And a big reason why a lot of people don't think it makes sense is because the 49ers as an organization do prioritize culture. They've been burned in the past by players like Reuben Foster. They wouldn't want to get burned again. And conversely, also, Samson Ebukam also had 4.5 sacks last year, and Samson Ebukam is 3 years younger than Frank Clark and 3 times cheaper, and Clark is going to turn 30 years old this year. Now, he was great against the Niners back in 2019 in the Super Bowl. They could not block him in that fourth quarter as he was breathing down the neck of Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm somewhat torn on the decision. Again, I like the on-field fit for Frank Clark. I don't really like some of the baggage that comes with bringing him in to the Bay. He would be very good on the football field, and he would fill a need for the Niners to bring in a speed rusher opposite of Nick Bosa. So let me know if you want the 49ers to pursue Frank Clark, whether that be via trade or free agency. If he's cut, type Y for yes, you want the 49ers to go after him, and for no. Jimmy Ward on Bobby Wagner had some interesting things to say recently over the weekend. He said, Bobby Wagner's a great player, but I won't sit here and say, oh, we need Bobby Wagner, because I feel that would be a slap in the face to all the linebackers in the room. He said this to the SF Niners. Bobby Wagner plays the same position as Fred Warner, so it'll tell me one of two things. Well, mainly one thing. We get Bobby Wagner, okay, who are we about the deal? Because I know he's not going to sit on the bench. And that was really my main takeaway and my main opinion throughout this week. The 49ers have one of the best linebacking cores in the NFL, led by All-Pro Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, and Azeez Al-Shaair. Now, the Niners do have to make some roster decisions with Greenlaw as well as Azeez Al-Shaair, but I like this current linebacking core for a couple of reasons. One, all of those guys can play. Two, they're all affordable outside of Fred Warner. And three, they're coming off a year in which they played very, very well together. So there are rumors out there that Bobby Wagner would like to team up with Fred Warner. If that does end up happening, it gives you Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis vibes. These are two of the best linebackers in the game. Fred Warner still in his mid-20s. Bobby Wagner going to be 32, I believe, in June, and there's a lot of tread on those tires, but had 170 tackles this past year. He can still play. Got burned a little bit in coverage as he gets a little bit older, but teaming up alongside Fred Warner would be a boost to the defense. Couple of questions. How much does he demand? Does he take a team-friendly deal? Does he secure the bag once more in his NFL career? Because it might be the last opportunity for him to do so. There has been mutual interest, according to Ian Rappaport, from Wagner's camp and from the 49ers camp, so we'll see what happens in that regard. Lastly, Laken Tomlinson, according to Matt Mayoko, expected to test free agency. Don't see this really as much of a surprise. He's in his early 30s, hasn't gotten paid a massive amount of money throughout his NFL career, has an opportunity to cash in this offseason. How can you blame him? He is the best guard set to hit the open market, has not missed a game since coming over to San Francisco from the Detroit Lions. He could demand $15 million per year because outside of quarterback, offensive line, in my opinion, the most important position group on a football team. Got to keep the quarterback upright. You got to be able to protect the quarterback. And for the 49ers, that's important, especially if you have a young and inexperienced quarterback in Trey Lance. So I think it's a priority for the Niners to bring him back. I've said that all along. If they don't bring him back because they can't afford him at $15 million average annual value, look for maybe Aaron Banks, second-round pick out of Notre Dame, to shift over to left guard. He was awful at right guard in the few opportunities that he had. Niners ended up going with Daniel Brunskill, but he did play left guard at Notre Dame and was very good at that position. Does he thrive and flourish at his more natural position? If he goes to left guard, he'd be a lot cheaper than Laken Tomlinson if that dollar figure is around $15 million per year. Before we get out of here, let me know a free agent that you want the 49ers to sign. It can be somebody on the roster. It can be another free agent externally. Give me some names in the comment section. Thanks for watching today's show. Hope all of you had a great weekend. I know I did. Met up with some high school friends last night in Dallas. Talked about life, talked about life's challenges, overcoming them, successes, future goals. It was awesome. We got litty, a lot of tequila and whiskey for me. Hoop today with Jeremy Chuggs, one of our producers. It was a great weekend for me. Hope you all had a great weekend. You're recharging for NFL free agency tomorrow. We have you locked and loaded with all the best 49ers coverage, so make sure you hit that red subscribe button down below. And thanks for making today's show a part of your day.